Hey, welcome back to the Cosmic Consciousness series. If you haven't subscribed to Me, Myself, and I, drop it now, and welcome to the Unity. Today, we're going to be moving on into part 5 of the series, which is the additional, some of those lesser, imperfect, and doubtful instances. So let's, So let's dive in and see what we're dealing with here. Chapter 1, the Twilight. The main purpose of this fifth part is to illustrate the inevitable fact that granted that there is such a mental faculty as cosmic consciousness, and that it has been brought forth, as were the others, by gradual evolution, there must exist minds on all intermediate planes between mere self-consciousness and the fullest cosmic consciousness so far produced by the onward and upward march of the race. If we think of the oncoming of the cosmic sense as the rising of a sun in the individual life, it becomes clear, carrying out the analogy as we may probably do without fear of material error, that between the comparative darkness of the night of mere self-consciousness and the light of the day, which is cosmic consciousness, there must exist an interval of what may fairly be called twilight, a region in which the sun of the cosmic sense will give more or less light, although not yet risen and perhaps never to rise in the life of that person. This twilight is often distinctly traceable, as in the case of Dante and Bayman, in lives that later become fully illumined. After momentary illumination, too, in the lesser cases, a glow is left lasting for years, as if the sun, after appearing for a few moments above the horizon, remained immediately below it, very slowly descending, like the physical sun in northern latitudes about the time of summer solstice. In another class of cases, the individual spiritual life may be compared to a winter day within the Arctic Circle. The sun slowly approaches the horizon, its path slanting gradually upward until the fiery ball nearly touches the Earth's rim, passes slowly along the southeast, south, southwest, lighting the landscape, but never showing its dazzling face, effecting a genuine illumination but without rising, yielding a glow which is in strong contrast to the darkness of night, but which is yet infinitely short in splendor, that is, and especially in fructifying power, of that of the direct solar rays. Such a case was one of the most noteworthy in this fifth part, that namely of Richard Jefferies. You know what that reminds me? I had a message come to me this morning when I was meditating on making a mead, a type of mead, which, if you don't know, is like an ancient wine that they used to make with flowers and such, using chamomile plants. If you know what a chamomile flower is, it is the flower of the sun, and it contains the sun's essence in it. So I had an idea, or a message rather, come to me today saying you should make this mead with chamomile in it, and drink of the sun, of this solar energy. So we're gonna see. I'll let you know how that turns out. Okay, continuing. Today, innumerable men and women must be living in this twilight. Undoubtedly, many cases of so-called conversion are simply instances of generally sudden spiritual ascent from the average self-conscious level into the region of greater or less splendor, according to the altitude reached, which lies between that and cosmic consciousness. Right, like I can only explain to you what it was, but I cannot actually make you feel the way it felt, if you get that. And if Carlyle's opinion, which is in full accord with what we know of mental evolution, that conversion, namely, was not known to the ancients but has come to light for the first time in our modern era, be accepted, does this not clearly indicate a gradual spirit ascent of a vast section of the human mind? Cases of conversion, well, it's like being in two places at one time, brother. Cases of conversion occurring in the young are not here noticed. These are probably generally, if not always, cases of more or less sudden spiritual ascent within the region strictly belonging to self-consciousness, and do not therefore concern us. But cases of so-called conversion occurring at 30 or 35 years of age, such as that of C.G. Finney at Chapter 13, Infra, are in themselves more striking phenomena, and are doubtless always, or nearly always, instances of ascent into the region which lies beyond the limits of the ordinary self-conscious mind. One word may be said in this place to guard against a possible suspicion. In the reporting of no case was the reporter the person having the experience, that is, prompted by word or sign. Every one of the following reports, as is manifestly true of those which are included in Part 4, is given absolutely spontaneously and nearly always without any knowledge of the phenomena belonging to other cases, and certainly without being influenced in narration by a knowledge of other cases. In view of the extraordinary uniformity of the accounts given, as far as these go, It is important that this fact should be clearly realized. So now let's dive into these extra cases and see what we have here. Okay, so starting the first one, chapter 2, we have Moses. I'm sure people know who that was. Moses. Renan tells us that the oldest documents in which Moses is mentioned are 400 to 500 years posterior to the date of the Exodus, at which time Moses lived, if he lived at all. Les documents les plus anciens sur son posteriors de 400 blah 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 blah. Okay, could there have been older lost written narratives upon which those we have were based? I'm sorry. Or could the long interval of over 400 years have been bridged by tradition in such manner as to make the accounts we have of any value? It is hard to say, but if we should dare believe that the incidents in the man's personal history given in Exodus are in any sense reliable, they cannot of course be expected to be accurate, then we have in great Egypto-Israelitish lawgiver a probable case of cosmic consciousness. The burning bush that he saw in Horeb, which was not consumed by fire, would then be the form taken in tradition by the subjective light. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto him a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush, and he looked, and behold, the bush burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed. In the shining of his face, and it came to pass when Moses came down from Mount Sinai with the 2 tables of the testimony in Moses' hand, when he came down for a moment, that mount, that is, that Moses, moist, not that the skin of his face shone or sent forth beams by reason of his speaking with him. And when Aaron and all the children of Israel saw Moses, behold, the skin of his face shone, and they were afraid to come nigh him. The shining of Moses' face when he descended Sinai would be the transfiguration characteristic of cosmic consciousness. At the time that Moses saw the fire, that is the fire, it would seem that he was already married and had sons, but he was, however, still young, for he lived and labored for 40 years thereafter. It seems likely that he was at or near the usual age of illumination at the time. He was at first alarmed at the fire, or light, as is usual, and Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look upon God. He distrusted his fitness for the task laid upon him. Who am I that I should go unto Pharaoh? Just as Mohammed distrusted himself. The voice giving more or less explicit commands is a common phenomenon. It is doubtful if this voice is ever heard with the outward ear, perhaps occasionally, more likely never. The light is almost certainly always subjective, and no doubt the voice also. But with the cosmic sense comes a consciousness of certain facts, and the impression made upon the person is that he has been told these, and if so, then by some person, but of course not by a human being. Hence the voice of God to Moses, the voice of the Father to Jesus, the voice of Christ to Paul, the voice of Gabriel to Mohammed, the voice of Beatrice to Dante. Who the person thought to be heard, into whose mouth the teaching is put, will be determined by the mental habitudes of the subject and of his age and nation. I like Beatrice to Dante. That mine is of a feminine origin as well. Mine comes from a really feminine source. I can agree with the Beatrice thing. What now was actually told Moses, if we may believe the report and it seems credible, is, as far as the present writer can judge, exactly what would have been told him by the cosmic sense, the unity, power, and goodness of God, namely, and that he should work for the people of whom he was one. It seems likely, moreover, that there came upon Moses at about the epoch of the burning bush a great intellectual and moral expansion. The tables of the law, doubtless composed by him, go to prove this, so does the recognition of his superiority and authority, apparently so freely rendered by a people not especially inclined, it would seem, to surrender their own ideas and place themselves under the control of a leader having no hereditary or priestly jurisdiction. Since the above was written, the editor has had a letter from CMC, whose case is included in this volume, that is chapter 29, in which she gives an experience so very similar to that of the burning bush, that it is impossible to resist the temptation to quote it. She says in that passage, 2 lady friends and I were out driving a few days ago. It was a lovely, perfect morning. As we passed along the shaded country road, we got out of the carriage to gather the purple aster, which was blooming in all its perfection by the wayside. I was in a strangely joyous mood. All nature seemed sweet and pensive. The asters had never before seemed so beautiful to me. I looked at the large bunches we had gathered with growing amazement at their brightness, and it was some little time before I realized that this was unusual. But I soon found that I was seeing the aura of the flowers. A wonderful light shone out from every little petal and flower, and the whole was a blaze of splendor. I trembled with rapture. It was a burning bush. It cannot be described. The flowers looked like gems or stars, the color of amethysts, so clear and transparent, so still and intense, a subtle living glow, that is. The veil almost parted, not quite, or I should have seen them smiling and conscious and looking at me. What a moment that was! I thrilled at the thought of it. Okay. Then chapter 3, Gideon. Case of Gideon, surnamed Jerubbaal, 13th century BC. And the angel of the Lord came and sat under the oak, which was in Ophrah, that pertained unto Joash the Abiezrite, and his son Gideon was beating out wheat in the winepress to hide it from the Midianites. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto him and said unto him, The Lord is with thee, thou mighty man of valor. And Gideon said unto him, O my Lord, if the Lord be with us, why then is all this befallen us? And where be all his wondrous works which our fathers told us of, saying, Did not the Lord bring us up from Egypt? But now the Lord hath cast us off and delivered us into the hand of Midian. And the Lord looked upon him and said, Go in this thy might, and save Israel from the hand of Midian. Have not I sent thee? And he said unto him, O Lord, wherewith shall I save Israel? Behold, my family is the poorest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my father's house. And the Lord said unto him, Surely I will be with thee, and thou shalt smite the Midianites as one man. And he said unto him, If now I have found grace in thy sight, then show me a sign that it is thou that talkest with me. Depart not hence, I pray thee, until I come unto thee and bring forth my present and lay it before thee. And he said, I will tarry until thou come again. And Gideon went in and made ready a kid and unleavened cakes of an ephah of meal. The flesh he put in a basket, and then he put broth in a pot, and brought it out unto him under the oak, and presented it. And the angel of God said unto him, Take the flesh and the unleavened cakes, unleavened, and lay them upon this rock, and pour out the broth. And he did so. Then the angel of the Lord put forth the end of the staff that was in his hand, and touched the flesh of the unleavened cakes, and there went up fire out of the rock, and consumed the flesh and the unleavened cakes, and the angel of the Lord departed out of his sight. And Gideon saw that he was the angel of the Lord. And Gideon said, Alas, O Lord God, forasmuch as I have seen the angel of the Lord face to face. And the Lord said unto him, Peace be unto thee, fear not, thou shalt not die. Then Gideon built an altar there unto the Lord, and called it Jehovah Shalom. Unto this day it is yet in Ophrah of the Abiezrites. Renan's comment on the life of this man would, were it taken seriously, make him, if not a great, at all events a case of cosmic consciousness. He says, circumstances of which we are ignorant inclined him to the exclusive worship of Yahweh. This conversion was attributed to a vision, and it is possible that in the case of Gideon, as in that of Moses, a sensible experience may have intervened. It would appear that there occurred to him one of the apparitions of flame in which Yahweh is supposed to reveal himself. The eternal fire, brother. Nothing definite can be said in this case. Gideon's age at the time is not known. The subjective life, if he experienced it, his sudden conversion from a lower to a higher religious plane, which seems pretty certain, his rapid elevation in the esteem of his countrymen, his long and strenuous life, his marked recognition of God, his refusal to reign in any other sense than as the agent of Yahweh, all these point to the possibility of his illumination. Okay, chapter 4, we've got Isaiah, okay. Had the greatest of the Hebrew prophets the cosmic sense? It does not seem unlikely. As Isaiah lived and wrote for 39 years after his vision, it might easily be that he was something over 30 years of age at the time, that is to say, in the year of death of Uzziah, BC 740. The vision itself, as he describes it, suggests illumination, the oncoming of cosmic consciousness. Isaiah writes, In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. Above him stood the seraphims. Each one had 6 wings, which with twain he covered his face, and with twain he covered his feet, and with twain he did fly. And one cried unto another, and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. And the foundations of the threshold were moved at the voice of him that cried, and the house was filled with smoke. Then said I, Woe is me, for I am undone, because I am a man of unclean lips, for mine eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts. Whoa, mine too. Then flew one of the seraphim unto me, having a live coal in his hand, ow, and burnt my ass, with which he had taken the tongs off from the altar, and he touched my mouth with it, and said, Lo, this hath touched my lips, and thine iniquity is taken away, and thy sin purged. Is it? Is it really? And I heard the voice of the Lord saying, Whom shall I send, and who will go for us? And then I said, Here I am, here am I, send me. Oh no! Hold on. I dropped something. Sorry. Okay, so the chief points to be noticed here are 1, he saw God, 2, he saw that God, the cosmos, and 3, the expression, the house was filled with smoke, ought, if the hypothesis be correct, rather to read with light or with flame, since it should refer to the subjective light, but it seems doubtful whether the Hebrew word ashan ever means light or flame. What's the difference anyways? If, however, it is connected philologically with the Sanskrit Arman, it ought to be capable of bearing an analogous interpretation. That is, 4, he loses the sense of sin. Thank you, brother.